What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm here on a new platform and a new style. Welcome and Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I'm here today with Ashley, your host. I'm Chad, your host. Ashley is from Gringo, New Mexico. They're a cannabis dispensary here in New Mexico in Las Cruces. And she's joining me today to talk a bit about cannabis and talk a little bit about their business. But first off, let's talk a little bit about this show. It's a brand new show, and there's a lot of good stuff that we're going to be doing here. I'm going to be keeping that same educational platform that I've always done, being an advocate and everything. I really want to tell you guys what's going on still in the state. I want you to know what's going on with the legislature, and I want you to know what's going on here around in New Mexico, especially here in Las Cruces for our local listeners, because that's where we're filming right now. By the way, thank you to Adams Radio Group for producing this show. And this show is really just going to be about education and also outreach for these local businesses, because as you guys know, federal laws kind of bar and some state laws bar a lot of advertising for cannabis. So this is one of the ways that we can give them a platform and make sure that they are able to, use their voice as well and to get their businesses out there. The cannabis industry, it's a business. It's a legitimate business and it should be treated that way. So it's a little unfair that the cannabis business does get treated that way, but things are changing and we'll see what happens. So moving on, Ashley, thank you again for joining me. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Ashley. I do all the video content creating for social media accounts at Gringo, Facebook, Instagram. Shameless plug here. Make sure you follow us. Otherwise, you don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, I deal with a lot of the loopholes and kind of troubleshooting and figuring out what we're allowed, what we're not allowed to do on social media, because in spite of the things that you see that are pretty explicit on Instagram, for example, you can't mention even CBD on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. So it's been a really fun challenge and super interesting trying to figure out how to think outside of the box and let people know what we're doing at Gringo.
Oh, definitely. Social media and everything in reach is, super important in this in the industry. Most of the businesses, because of the restrictions on advertising, have to use social media because of that. So someone in me with an expertise that can really, promote the product and get it to where the people that needs to be. So appreciate that. Thank you for the introduction. So now that we got you introduced, how about you tell us a little bit about Gringo, New Mexico? Where are you guys from? What's your story? What really brought the idea forward and everything?
Oh my gosh. So we are obviously family owned and operated, woman owned, veteran operated as well. So our owner really has a heart to help the community. And I mean, you really see it in terms of how she has everything set up. And we really want everyone's experience at Green to be like you're going to visit a family member as opposed to going to the pot store. That's great. There's, certain people that prefer that sort of dynamic, and it's wonderful because there's definitely a plethora out there in the community. But we really wanted to create a homey environment and, make every experience more of an exchange as opposed to just a transaction. So we really gear all of our products by what our community and our customers want, and we really carry a full line of everything from our furry friends to grandma to anybody in between.
Nice. Yeah. So you have a wide range, and we'll talk a little bit more. I actually went to the store. And I'll get some more questions out the way. We'll talk about some things that I saw, some things I really liked about the store and everything. I really like the way it looked, but we'll get more on that later. As the industry really advances and matures, where do you guys really see yourselves, kind of heading in? Do you really want to expand? Are you looking to, grow? I mean, do you guys grow? I mean, I should have asked that.
No. We don't grow. But, we want to support our local growers and economy. So every flower that we have at Gringo is locally grown right here in Las Cruces and within the state, obviously. And we really pride ourselves on our flower. Everything is very high quality, from the terpene profile to, if you want high THC content, we have that as available as well. So in terms of expansion, I know that that's definitely in the cards eventually. We want everything that we're offering to be accessible to everybody, not just within our local area, but, maybe El Paso or Santa areas like that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's great, being able to expand, because New Mexico, we're very rural. So, some of these towns that she mentioned are very big. And it's great that you guys are offering, accessibility to people there, because these people aren't just people trying to get high. Some of them are patients. Our program is dual. It's medical and rec at the same time, and we made it work a little bit different than kind of how Colorado does. So it's really good that you guys, are really expanding to those areas that you mentioned, from Alamogordo originally. So it's considered rural. It's not very big, being from Otero County originally. So when I first became a patient in our program back in 2013, I was patient 8,000 something, and we had no dispensaries in Alamogordo. There's one in Ruidoso, and I think there's one or two in Las Cruces. And so, yeah, it's great to see that the industry is growing and how many more dispensaries. I was around the other day, and it felt like we had like 30. I could be right or wrong on that number. I haven't really checked lately, but over the state, it's about over 500. And it's a huge amount. From where we went at the very beginning, because when we started our adult use program, we started out with more dispensaries than Colorado did. And so, Colorado had, less dispensaries than we did. It was mostly because of Albuquerque. So many shops were setting up there right away, and it got so saturated so fast. Right. And that's the main reason why. And now we're starting to see a flip in the South. We're seeing Sunland Park kind of, grow a little bit, right? Are you guys planning on going there?
I do believe, that's where we're looking to establish a location.
Nice, so, we call it Little Dubai. In the industry. Yeah, it's nicknamed Little Dubai because how fast paced it's going to be growing, and how fast paced it's already growing. And it's kind of been coined that. I've been hearing it all over the industry already. So yeah, it's like Little Dubai and everything. So yeah, that's great, and it's great that you guys are expanding. So how's the foot traffic been lately for you guys? Like I was out the other day, and it seemed like things have slowed down a little bit lately. It's not as long lines. You can kind of get in, and
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to wait, obviously, I'm gonna tell you to come see us. We're tucked away. We're located in the same area as Bright Star Dental and the Lozano H. I think that a lot of people really appreciate the discretion and location of where we have parking, because some people still it's completely up to them to want to protect their privacy, and maybe you don't want to have to park your car on one of the main roads and everybody's talking about you at Sunday lunch or brunch or whatever. So we respect that, and we oftentimes the best gems are hidden, so we're tucked away in our location. Some people might think that kind of inhibits a little bit of the traffic, but we have a lot of return customers. Again, it's more like a family experience. So you have to come in and check it out and feel it for yourself to really understand the vibe.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Go check it out. The cool thing about New Mexico and the cannabis industry in general is that there's no set way yet to do any of this. It's so open that these businesses are figuring out different ways. They're being very open in the way that they're approaching this. So it's really great to see that you guys are doing the same thing. So do you kind of feel like traffic's slowed down because Sunland Park is kind of taking off a little bit more? Is that kind of how you guys feel maybe, or?
I think that might have something to do with it. That's definitely a large demographic coming in from Texas that wants to experience healing naturally and holistically. And, if there's areas that are a little bit more convenient to them, then, it's fantastic. In terms of, production and things like that we deal with, it hasn't slowed down quite as much. And I think a lot of it too was we had that big boom when adult use was adopted. People were excited, it was kind of going and checking out and trying out to see if maybe it was for, maybe it wasn't, And I think a lot of that has sort of dissipated down as it's become more normal.
Excitement. Our honeymoon phase is over, as I like to say. So I can kind of see that too. And more people are able to access from Texas a little quicker, Sunland Park, which is fair. They should have some access to. They're so close to us, and for years they've kind of piggybacked off our medical program anyway, in different ways that the state has allowed, but it's actually really great that so many more options now too. You guys, were you guys open April 1st?
Yes, we had a soft opening at the beginning of April, and then we were really able, and it was very basic setup initially, and just within that month we were able to expand and add CBD, and we'll talk a little bit more about like the holistic lines that we carry, but we've been able to really expand just within those first couple of months and build on that foundation.
Nice.
It's been exciting.
Yeah, that is super exciting. So with the competition and everything, just everywhere, it's really cutthroat. Did you have an idea of how cutthroat it was before you got into the industry?
No, and I really feel like our owners and our team, and again, it's like we're all family, so I don't know, it's just the collective mentality, but we welcome healthy competition.
Nice.
a lot
That's
of
good to hear.
people in our city, in our community, that need healing and relief. And if we can a match for them, awesome. If you know somebody that might be a better match, awesome.
Yeah,
You know, there's enough to go around.
Yeah,
Spread love.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I try to tell people, and I've heard several times. Actually, one of the cannabis owners in the state that is a really big guy, he said that, you know, high is so big that he's a crumb. And, you know, there's enough room for everybody. And so I have seen a lot of fears, you know, people like, oh, there's this competition. I'm like, well, you just do what you can. You know, it's not healthy competition. There's enough for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like if you have the right heart behind it. Now, if you're just prioritizing the money and like, oh, it's going to be a booming industry and there's so much money to be made. Yes, that's true. But if that's the mentality and you don't have the heart behind it to actually want to help people, I think that that's where you might get a little bit of nastiness and like the cutthroat mentality.
Yeah. Because I've seen it myself. I've seen it myself. I've been in the industry for about 10 years. And so, you know, I've seen on the medical side, and, you know, I saw a little bit at the beginning here. And I'm glad that I'm seeing people kind of come together and realize that, you know, we're better together. And there's no reason to sit here and fight and bicker and, you know, not work with them because of this and whatever. It's all business at the end of the day. And, you know, we're trying to make this industry and this community really thrive. And we're trying to show everybody that New Mexico did this right. And, you know, it's great to see that. I mean, I kind of predicted that a little bit of that would happen, you know, for a while. But, you know, it's good to see, you know, more local growers and everything are more involved. And did you see micros? Do you guys have get some cash from? Do you guys get any from micro growers?
We do have a micro grower that was really, really wonderful. He rolls from, and there's other dispensaries in town that carry his product as well. But I mean, you take the love and the dedication that goes into growing those flowers. I know he plays music, has them like it's like his children. And it's a beautiful thing to see people really putting a passion into their craft, seeing it come to fruition, and other people enjoy it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's good to hear. So with that said, do you really feel like New Mexico is headed in the right direction? I mean, I know, you know, nothing's perfect. You know, there's tweaks and everything that need to occur in the state. But do you feel like we're heading in the right direction with the way that we did it?
I do. I think I think, you know, kind of how you were discussing before about how some restrictions weren't made here within the state. I think that it's really wonderful to see that people had a need and legislation actually listened.
Yes.
You know, maybe you don't go to get the medical card, whatever your personal reasons are. Maybe you didn't feel like it was accessible to you. Now we have little grandmas that, you know, speak to the power of propaganda that we've had in our country over, you know, last century regarding cannabis, at least the last few, you know, decades. You know, who were completely opposed. I don't do drugs. You know, and unfortunately they come down with a devastating diagnosis, and now suddenly they're open to it because, oh, well, it's on every corner. It's accessible to me, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
definitely. You know, especially with the, you know, majority of the cannabis users these days, I read in an article a while back, are the elderly. You know, and a lot of them, you know, they discover it, or their nephew had it, and like, you know, here, try the balm. You know, like, you know, the elderly really love the balms, you know, and everything, the rubs and stuff like that. You know, my parents, they make it themselves because you know, can't get enough of it. You know, getting up in their years, so you know their joints and everything. You know, even myself, I'm a veteran, and so you know I had bad joints and stuff, and it even helps me. And so the balms are great. You know, it's one of the best things that you can use. You know, for the pain and
you don't get high from it.
That's the best part.
It doesn't penetrate the dermis, so it doesn't get in your bloodstream. You don't experience the psychoactive component. Sorry, I had to throw it in there.
No, by all means, here to educate.
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people automatically think, oh, it's THC. I don't want to get high. Well, you won't. You don't. You can work with it all day long. It's great.
Well, this show is about education. If you want, go ahead and, you know, let's educate the public a little bit, you know, because, you know, there is a lot of misconceptions. If I touch the plant at all, I'm going to get high. I'm going to fail a drug test. I'm going to lose my job. So, you know, to squash a little bit of, you know, the misconceptions, you know, you don't get high just from touching the plant. And even then, when it's on the plant, it's THCA, which is not even activated. The A stands for acid. And so what you have to do is you have to heat up the cannabis to a certain temperature, so that way the acid, you know, pretty much dissipates, and you're left with the THC, which then becomes psychoactive. If you don't have that, you're not going to have psychoactive kind of feel. And I'm sure you can elaborate a little bit more on that, or, you know, I'm not too sure if I left anything out.
No, it's and I mean, and that's a huge part of it too, is because we do carry just straight CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC for people that, you know, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Totally understandable. That's okay. You can have healing too.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't have to get high to be healed. I actually learned that from another dispensary owner when I first started my journey, because I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to lose my job, anything like that. And so I started with CBD, and the benefits that I felt from that just in and of itself were, monumental. So I think the more that we can educate people and help to remove that stigma of stoner culture, it is nothing but a good thing.
No, definitely. Because, the more education we have, the more we're going to be less ignorant about the plant itself. I love education. My parents were teachers, for collectively for 40 years. And so it's really great to see that, there's more, businesses really focused on the educational piece, because that's what's really lacking in the industry as a whole. Like the whole nation, we're lacking the actual education that's needed. I still get dudes on the grow side. I've been growing for about 10 years. They'd be like, "Oh, bro, did you put in grape soda to make it purple, or something like that? Did you dip it in ice?" Yeah, right. And I was like, it's the first time I've ever heard that. So it's really good that you're getting the education piece in there. And if you guys don't know, she mentioned the CBD, CBN, CBG. CBN is actually THC that has been degraded, and it's CBN. And what CBN does actually helps you sleep. And the best way to remember that is CBN, CB night. It makes you go to sleep. And CBG kind of gives you that coffee feel. It's more of like what people would call a tea kind of effect.
Yeah, very energetic.
And that one, it's more energetic. The way you remember that, CB go, makes you go. So there's a little piece for you guys right there, a little bit of education, a little something to help you remember, different kind of compounds, because there's so many in this plant, and we're actually discovering more all of the time.
Yeah,
we found the Delta 8s and the Delta O's and all that, in the recent years. And
crazy.
and those are a prevalent plant already, but there's such minute amounts that just really doesn't make sense to pull it out, in a sense like this. Plus, we have regular cannabis and cannabinoids and everything in the compound we've been using. They've been pretty beneficial already. And we can explore more, but what we're doing is working. And through time we might find even more. So I really appreciate that piece right there and helping me, do this piece on educate the public. So I really wanted to talk about the location and kind of step back about that and talk about what I really wanted to mention before. Like I said, you guys have a really cool location, in an interesting spot, and it's off of Loman, right?
It's off of Loman. We're right across the street from Chick-fil-A, and Bright Star Dental is our neighboring parking lot friends.
Gotcha.
They're our parking lot neighbors. But we're tucked away in the Lone Atrium Suite. So it's really beautiful, like on days like today where the sun's shining, there's trees and birds, and it's a magical experience walking up. And as you come in, and right now we're really lucky because there are no lines. So you don't have to spend time outside waiting in the cold or the wind.
Oh,
or the heat when it gets real nasty. And, we get very comfortable inside as well.
Yes, and it's a cool location. But one thing that really stuck out to me when I was there, and I was at the products, I was looking at your case right behind where the product is, and I noticed in the case you guys had a lot of products for adults for the sex line.
Yes.
You guys had lubrication, you had other stuff like that. I really was curious about that, and I really want to ask you and kind of maybe talk about that. Do you know why they wanted to do that? Is there a reason why? Because I think it's a really great idea, because we need to educate, adults more about sex.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something that shouldn't be so taboo these days, but it is. But the best thing to do is to break the stigma, is just have it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Cowgirl Sauce is the line that Chad's referring to, and they are based out of Colorado, I believe.
Okay.
And so it's locally owned and operated.
Like
really wonderful family owns it. And I mean, they have products for men and women. And then of course they have, products for intimate play that can be enjoyed together, or, solo if you're spending the weekend alone, whatever may work. But it's all 100% organic hemp derived. And I believe the massage sauce that we have is 400 milligrams of CBD. And then the clitoral stimulant that we have, again, that works on both parties. So men can use it, women can use it.
They found it.
It's amazing. Somebody. So, and that one's really nice because it's derived with wintergreen as well. So it's like a really happy, refreshing kind of like mint. We joke about it at work. We're like, it's party in your pants. So, even if you weren't using it for intimate play, if you want to just use it and go to the grocery store and have that little secret to yourself, it's kind of a fun way to go about it. But yeah, they're an amazing company. They have a ton of athletic supplements as well.
Nice.
But we really like the intimate line just because it works so well. We have return customers back, on a very regular basis to try out everything Cowgirl Sauce has to offer. So everything is supplemented herbally, chamomile, skullcap, horny goat weed, which again, I don't know how well the male supplement works. It's an erection enhancement. And I'll never know how that works because I won't use it. But the people that have enjoyed it have come back repeatedly at it. So they're doing something right, and all natural.
That's great. No, that's great to hear that you guys keep it natural. And maybe next time when you guys come visit us, you'll bring a male counterpart and you can answer that question first. And I like that you use the term intimate line. I was looking for a term to use. I really couldn't think of it. And, I'll probably, steal that from you now. And
please do.
Because that's great. And, there are more shops out there who do that. That's great for you guys too, because, it shouldn't be so taboo. And there's some people who could use this in their life, and who knows, you guys might save a marriage. And
the nice thing about Cowgirl Sauce too is, like I said, it's all organic, all natural ingredients. Whereas, with other lubricants, you might find synthetically produced chemicals and other things that you don't want your skin or your, private parts absorbing. So that's a huge plus.
That is a huge plus. You don't want to be all greasy all day.
Yeah, ingest it accidentally on purpose, whatever. It's not going to hurt your intestinal lining. Because whatever people's kink is, that's good for your body. Yeah, exactly. You're safe no matter what. That's good to hear. So staying on the topic of products, so how many cultivars of cannabis do you guys have? I'm talking about flower. Right now, let me see. I'm gonna have to count in my head. I believe we have 13 on deck. 14. We shelved a new one yesterday. Okay. So our app. I'm allowed to say?
No, this is a podcast. I just said sex.
Fair enough. I'm in my Instagram head. Okay, is this going to get flagged or reported? So we just shelved our apple fritter, which is the second time that we've carried this particular crop from this grower, and it's a little bit more potent this go around. So we've been having to call people that have sort of been waitlisting for it because they wanted to make sure they were getting a good quality strain. So we really keep everything that we know is satisfying our customers. We try and keep that stocked, and then if there's any specific requests, we try and meet those needs as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's good to hear. And it's good to see that more dispensaries are carrying different strains, because when we first opened in April, and when I say April, everybody, my apologies, I should have said this earlier. April 1st, when I say that, I'm referring to the first day that we started adult sales. We've had medical cannabis in the state since 2008, but we started adult sales last year of April 1st. So that's what I mean when I mentioned April, because it only happened almost a year ago. We're almost hitting that little birth date. So that's what I mean by that. So I'm great that you guys have those different cultivars and everything. And I call it cultivars because we found out that we were calling it the wrong thing. We're calling it strains, and that's for viruses.
Oh no!
Yeah, I was like, oh wow. So
I'll steal that from you.
Yeah, there you go. You got a term for me. You. Yeah. So I've been using cultivar, and that seems to be a little bit more of a catch-all phrase that works a little bit better. I guess when you work with mushrooms, though, it's strain. So I guess it's still strain with that. So I don't know. They might debunk that too.
How that works, but
yeah, me too. I'm like, okay, but all right, guys. I'm not the scientist here. So as for that, let's can you guys talk about pricing or anything like that? What do your grams usually run?
We have something for everybody, honestly. Okay. We have anywhere from $10 to $17. It just depends on what kind of terpene profile. I can say terpene still, right?
You can say terpene. You're fine with terpenes.
In terms of terpene profile and THC content, it just really depends on specifically what you're looking for. We have a full line of pre-rolls, anywhere from $22 to $8. Nice. So there really is something for everybody.
Okay.
Gringo Ceiling.
Nice. And do you guys offer any discounts or anything, or any special deals during the week, that people can come in?
We actually have a really awesome deal right now. It's on our confectionery. So our brownies, lemonade bars, our boozy bonbons, which are infused with alcohol. So if there are people that enjoy that kind of, I think it's referred to as a crossfade. Yeah. There you go. I don't know how significant it is with the dose, but for anybody who enjoys things like that, we have those on special right now. Buy one, get one, half off. And then obviously with our medical card carriers, never pay tax. And that 20% tax makes a huge difference when you're coming to buy anything.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Put it this way, you're paying $20 on $100.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't pay that when you're a medical card holder at Gringo. So
no, that's good to hear. And throughout the state that should be the case too. If you're a medical cannabis card holder, you should be tax exempt. So if someone's charging a tax, you have a medical cannabis card, it might not be the good thing going on there. So I really wanted to go back and talk more about your community and outreach and everything. You were telling me before the show, that's really what you specialize in and everything. So, what do you really have planned for your community and your outreach and everything that you're working on?
Oh my gosh. Well, like I was telling you a little bit before we got started, I really, really want to work to help and make cannabis, regardless of if it's CBD or THC. I really want to work on removing the stigma that's associated with it. I want to make it accessible to school teachers, moms, parents, single parents. Anybody who feels like it might benefit them, especially if they're dealing with things that they're having to take a lot of pharmaceutical and synthetically produced chemical laden drugs. This is a really nice way to break away from that. So I've been kind of reaching out to yoga studios and some of our other female owned businesses that dabble in health and wellness, and seeing if we can get together as a community and, kind of welcome people and educate them about the benefits of everything that we have to offer. Group meditation, group classes, group fitness. Yeah. I also work at Fitness One. So if you want to come and do a group class, I'd be happy to have you. So, things like that. We really want to come together and see what we can offer the community, help answer any questions, because it's a little disheartening when people come into the dispensary and they're kind of, looking around like I have a black jacket on, I'm about to open it up and sling you a joint or
they're
something.
Expecting like black lights.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's the beauty of coming into a dispensary is come in, touch everything, smell what you can, ask all the questions. We have a terpene taster kit where we kind of try to help educate. This is what myrcene, this is what a flower that is going to be very myrcish is going to smell like. Something with limonene, if you like the uplifting effects, you're going to want to look for flower, because everybody educates people when they come into the dispensaries, unfortunately. So I would like to establish a community where those questions are safely asked and answered and people are comfortable asking them.
Nice. And here on the show and Ask Chad, Grassy Logic, we're all about that too. All about it too. So, I'm there with you guys, I'm on the same mission. So it's good to see, more dispensaries are on the same path, of education and everything. And for our listeners who don't know, terpenes, it more or less means like the smell and everything that you get from cannabis and the taste. It's very water soluble. It's one of the first things to go whenever you mess up when you're curing it. Ask me how I know. And so there's different ones when it comes to cannabis, and we're discovering a bunch all the time. And the hardest I had saying for the longest time was beta carotene. And I probably didn't say it right now.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. And it's pepper. It's pretty much the smell of pepper. And all of these, you can kind of compare it to something pinene. It kind of smells like pine. The limonene kind of like lemon. And what's the one with the M? I have the hardest time saying that you just mentioned. Yes. What is the smell and flavor of that one? I always forget.
It's very hoppy.
Hoppy.
Yeah, to me it smells like Hefeweizen oftentimes, but it's also, you will get the same myrcene in a pint of Hefeweizen as you would, maybe not the exact same, but it's the exact same terpene that you get in flowers, the same terpene that you get in mangoes, things like that. So that's the other thing too, is we want to educate people. Okay, well, if you like this type of fruit or vegetable, maybe you like the type of terpenes. Caryophyllene tends to be very abundant in peppers, like bell peppers.
There you go.
Things like that, and spicy foods.
Our green chili, everyone in New Mexico knows about the green chili. So I think we all know about that flavor, huh? Exactly. Yeah, that's great. And it's good to see that more dispensaries are educating their, people on the terpenes. Because some people I go into a dispensary and I'm like, hey, I want something with the best terps. And some people just give me the deer in the headlights look, and they're just kind of confused. Yeah, they're like, CBD, and I'm like,
sure.
Yeah, so it's good to see that too. So you guys are well rounded. That's really good to see. In a business and everything, and that's kind of cool. So I guess moving on from that, just being in the industry. How long have you been in the industry? If I may ask.
Oh, I'm still a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of being a user, I just got my medical card this summer. Okay. And way back in the day when I was a teenager, that was a totally different story, but it was also a very different dynamic. So, as a mom, I too had a very, sort of negative approach to it. And I was a little freaked out, in all honesty, about, adopting adult use, because I immediately thought, oh man, it's going to smell terrible in the city. And, I'm really proud of our community and happy to see how people have embraced it. Yeah. And I'm, very proud of myself for educating myself and learning about so many more of the benefits as opposed to, the stigma. So, Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally went off on it. My
No,
ADHD
no.
brain hijacked that thought. and ran
I'm
with
the
it.
same way, but like I said, all about education. There's a bunch of people that
Yeah.
are watching that are probably going to learn a lot from what you're talking about.
Well, and
today.
that's really all it is. And I really, I'm very grateful, and I've been blessed to work. Yeah, because there I am, sort of back to being a baby in the industry. I really lucked into the position that I have, because the owner was very diligent about hiring people that she could trust, and that she was very close with. And in that, we really are essentially just a family. We're not blood related, but we're all very close. And I really pride myself on my team because everybody is just so passionate about educating themselves. And what's the new thing that we can learn? And well, this is new, but is it really beneficial? Is it good? Is it going to be beneficial to our community and the people that we regularly have come through those doors? So it's been fun and challenging at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And it's always cool to hear people's stories of how they got into the industry, how long they've been in it, because there's really no say on how long you had to be in the industry to really know cannabis. It's learning the industry itself is something totally different than just being a cannabis user. I've learned that myself too. It's a total different world. So as our industry matures, and for a few years, and then federal laws start to change, do you think other states are going to look towards us, the way we've done it, to kind of mold their program as well?
I hope so.
Me too.
I think we've done a really good job. And just in terms of what we pulled in as a state in revenue, if we can allocate that money beneficially to other aspects that are needed within the state, if we can lead by example, that's like my big thing. I think we could really pride ourselves on other states wanting to model off this. Yeah,
definitely. Because we've had other states on the medical side model their medical programs off of ours too, before the Lynn and Aaron Compassionate Use Act changed in 2019. So I think Arkansas was one of the states that molded theirs off of ours, and a couple other states. So it was really cool to see that, and I really hope we can keep that lead, allow other states to say, hey, we did it this way, and we're a little bitty old state with 2 million people, look how well we're doing. And so maybe California, we'll look at it and say, hey, maybe we need to change up our taxes or something, it's a little crazy, because, they've kind of turned into a joke in the industry, and it's not great, because there's a lot of people who've suffered, and lost their business and stuff. And that's not great. So hopefully they get a, handle on that and figure it out in the future and everything. So that does it for really our interview with you and I part. We're really going to start talking about some cannabis stuff in the industry. So thank you for your time again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and don't worry, you'll stay for the rest of it.
I'll try not to interject any more tangents.
No, you're all about interject, educate. What I just really want to give your piece in. If you know information I don't, please let the audience know and everything. Like I said, this is about education, outreach. We're really just trying to get the public out there. So I really appreciate it again, Ashley from Gringo, New Mexico. Thank you. You did a wonderful job. So now, guys, we're really going to get into the show where I give you information about the cannabis industry around the state, around the nation, what's going on. So as some of you know, and some of you probably don't, which is probably more a majority, the legislative session is in full swing right now. We've been in for a couple of days, and this is the first week. And normally on the first week, nothing really goes on. It's like the first week of high school where you kind of just have paperwork. You're sitting there figuring out your classes. Well, the lawmakers are doing the same thing. They're figuring out their committees. They're getting settled into them. They're figuring out where they're going to be. And they're going to kind of figure out where the next actually 60 days is going to be spent. Because the first week is really slow, but the last week is hell on earth. It is insane. They're trying to get bills passed at the last moment. They're trying to get amendments in. They're trying to get committees to hear their bill in the first place, because there's some senators and House people that just will not hear a certain bill. That's one of the reasons why we had issues passing cannabis for the longest time, because in committees, sometimes they wouldn't even hear it. You'd be like, no, we have other stuff to do. And so that's why it took so long. So just to let you guys know that the legislative session is in full swing, and I'll be trying to keep you guys updated on my personal social media. I can only jump on here live so many times. And so I'll update you guys on my personal socials, what's going on, if a bill passes, if something's introduced. I looked this morning. There wasn't very many things about cannabis taxes, like a couple of tax code things, kind of adjusting that to kind of put them in the right places. But as of right now, there's nothing really in the cannabis industry doesn't change, nothing on the wording of increase of plants or anything like that. So what do you really think is going to happen in the legislative session?
It's a mess. I don't know.
No, you're not too sure?
No, I'm really, I wouldn't put money on anything at this particular point in time.
Okay. I
It's
mean,
just my personal.
yeah, anything can go at this moment. We really have only speculations of what's going in. I've heard word in the past that they're going to look to give micro producers more plants, at least 1,000 to 2,000, which is kind of what I proposed to them originally when we did this, because I was like, they're going to need a lot more plants to be competitive. 200 plants doesn't really get you too far, like that's only so much you can do with it. So hopefully they actually change that and maybe look at some of the tax stuff too. If we keep increasing our taxes, we could see a California effect here with the black market, making a comeback if we start increasing taxes more. And that's the trend we've seen.
What is it? It's a full percent increase annually?
I think it's every 4 years it increases, I believe on 10%. Or 5 or 10%. It increments quite a bit until it gets, I think, all the way to 30. Yeah, in which, in line with Oregon and Washington, and that gets a little high. And so that's the reason why a lot of states are having black market issues, is because of their taxes. If you keep the taxes low, you keep the black market out. And you're never going to kill the black market. You're just going to shrink it. Kind of like fat cells. You're only going to shrink them. You're not going to get rid of fat. You just shrink your fat cells. That's what you're trying to do with the black market. You're just trying to shrink it to the point where it's almost not noticeable. I mean, we have a black market for cigarettes that aren't taxed that come from Mexico. We have a black market on alcohol. But they're so small that you don't even hear about it when there's a bust of it. Yeah. See, I know people that got busted at the, with tobacco at the border because it wasn't taxed. They're trying to smuggle it over to sell untaxed tobacco because the tax is so high. And in Mexico, not taxed. And so that's one of the things that we really need to think about in the cannabis industry, and I feel, is to kind of look at their taxes and say, okay, do we really want to continue this, down this path? Because eventually it may lead to something worse. And that's something that I've kind of, preached for a while, and we'll see if it comes up. And that's kind of my prediction. Those are going to be the two things that, are really going to be the huge parts of the changes in the bill. I don't really see too many other things that really need to change, unless you can think of something off the top of your head that, like, well, that's dumb, they should change that. Like, maybe, how do you like BioTrack, by the way?
You know what? I don't deal a whole lot with BioTrack, and I count my blessings for that. Because
yeah.
It's just, it looks, from my understanding, it does what it needs to do, and that's just like, table that.
Yeah, I gotcha. Nice. So yeah, I mean, I already talked about, everything I wanted or thought should change. So I guess we'll move on. I believe that every cannabis user is an advocate. No matter who you are, you're a cannabis user, and there's someone watching you. Well, yeah. Does Gringo plan to, advocate during this legislative session? Do you think maybe, or maybe head to Santa Fe a couple days, or
I don't see it being outside of the realm of possibility. One of our owners are very active members of the community here, and definitely would like to see some things turn around within the state. I won't speak too much to their personal beliefs and systems that they have in place, but I think it's important, especially when you put it that way. If you're a user or even, a distributor of cannabis, there are eyes watching you. Mm-hmm. So we have to be very deliberate in the way that we approach things and present things. Yeah,
definitely. And, that's why I try to kill that stigma that, all stoners are dumb, or, we're just going to sit there like, hey, bro, this and that. There's actually a lot of us are educated. A lot of us have, degrees. A lot of us are in a professional environment. It's just the legality of it keeps us from saying that, I use weed all the time.
Yeah.
I smoke doobies when I get home. Yeah. And with that being said, I really wanted to move on to, before I kind of get caught up in it. I wanted to move on to talk a little bit more about the state. I guess they added anxiety disorder to the list of qualifying conditions in the state on the medical side. I do too. And the reason why I think that's good, because some people might think that's like, oh, well, it's dead in the water. Why? It's legal recreationally. It's legal recreationally for people 21 and over. If you're a child, you can't use it at all. And if you need cannabis, you can't do that unless you're in the medical cannabis and your parents are your caregiver here in New Mexico. So that's one reason why it's a big deal that they added this. Kids with anxiety, under 18, because that's the age that you need to be in this state to, have a medical cannabis card. They have to have their parents as a caregiver, but they have that option. And I think this is great for the kids of our state. Do you guys get a lot of kid patients over at Gringo sometimes?
We don't. We do have, under 21 who are medical card carriers themselves, but they are legal adults. 18 and up is, I think, the youngest that I've seen on one of my shifts. But, you know, I think we've heard a lot of really devastating stories about children that have ailments that are easily, you know, qualifying under the needs of a cannabis card. But that's very interesting in terms of the anxiety.
Yeah, it is.
I hadn't thought about it from that aspect.
And in New Mexico, the doctors can blanket things. So if you have symptoms of one thing, they can put it under another. So
Sure.
if you have one cancer, they can just put it under general of a cancer. So it doesn't have to specify really. It's like you have cancer, here you go.
Yeah.
You know, PTSD for a long time, and actually it's the highest number of patients in their program is the PTSD diagnosis. You know, a lot of times they would use anxiety and put it under PTSD, but now that they have it under anxiety as by itself, that gives it a little more broad for the people that just, they're not like messed up like that. They just have anxiety and they need help, but you know, they don't want to be labeled as having PTSD, which is fair. And they want to be able to be diagnosed correctly. You know, like you shouldn't be
It
diagnosed
should be like
incorrectly.
that, period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. Like I have this, not I have under this. So as our maybe they'll add more and allow people to, you know, like, you know, that's a weird thing. You know, no, you don't do that at a doctor's office.
No, well,
You
and
know?
I mean, you shouldn't have to. I
No.
think a lot of the people where there's a concern is, you know, having stoners or addicts wandering the streets with cannabis. They're going to do it with any substance, whether it's alcohol or cannabis or meth or, you know, just a lot of the unfortunate substances that are available to people that desperately want it. It's a healing issue.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the substance, I don't think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, I lost my sister to prescription pills, unfortunately, my older one. And, you know, that's the reason why I got into the cannabis industry in general. I was in the military at the time, and I just got back from Iraq. So I was just dealing with PTSD too in the very beginnings of it. And so I had found cannabis, you know, Reefer Madness, you know.
Oh, no.
Not Reefer Madness, excuse me. The Union, they'd mentioned Reefer Madness all in there a bunch of times, but I'd watched The Union. And that documentary alone changed my life and my perspective of cannabis. I never really had a negative outlook at cannabis. I used it when I was younger, but I didn't know enough. I wasn't educated. And so from that day on, I did myself every day on cannabis. And I was still in the Army. You know, I was still had a top secret clearance. You know, I was an intel guy. And I was just sitting there on my little computer Googling, you know, looking, checking my back, making sure, you know, no one's watching me. And, you know, it's one of those things that if you are woken up to it, you're just like, holy crap, I've been lied to my entire life.
Yes.
You know, all these, you know, stigmas and all these things placed on cannabis, they were just lies. And, you know, the reason, you know, there's many theories, many different historical facts, but the main fact is that it just became legal for the wrong reasons. And now we're kind of going backwards, and not backwards, we're moving forward with it. And, you know, legalizing cannabis one state at a time right now until the federal government catches up. We'll see how long that takes. So moving on with some of the new stuff, you know, this is kind of more national, but New Mexico was mentioned by one of the CEOs of Weed Maps when he was having an interview. So he mentioned New Mexico because how we've, you know, conducted our state program and everything and how well it's gone. Because as I mentioned, you know, earlier in the podcast several times, California kind of, you know, hasn't done it well. Well, 70% of California's cities can't sell cannabis. There's a ban on cannabis at 70% of their cities. So that's one of the reasons why they're having, you know, issues, you know, is what a lot of experts are saying is like, well, there it is right there. You know, we're banning these cities and we're just allowing the black market to thrive there. You know, like that would be like a little weird. That'd be like banning it here in Las Cruces, but Sunland Park is thriving. Yeah. You know, it'd be a little weird. Here in Las Cruces would be black market heavy, or would have to go down to Sunland Park. So it was really cool to see, you know, people that are in the industry and everything like that. So, you know, especially that high up, you know, a lot of people use that, you know, platform. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? You know, just hearing that.
I think that's exciting. Yeah. I really am very curious to see now that we've adopted marijuana as, you know, adult use. I'm very curious to see what the other statistics in terms of some of the bigger ailments that we deal with, like diabetes and, you know, a lot of stuff that stems from sedentary type lifestyle. I'm very curious to see how cannabis is going to impact the state. Because I think it's going to be extremely beneficial.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm ready for the data and the research studies to come out, but I know we're not going to get those back for a while.
Yeah, and it's good that it's going to be a while because we really need that good don't need stuff that's, misleading or anything like that, because that's how bad laws gets passed.
Yeah.
Many times, they rely on terrible data, and then come to find out it was bad data when we already passed this law. Oops, sorry, I don't know what to tell you guys. So, but yeah,
circle back to that one eventually.
we'll come back to there whenever. So, but yeah, that was a cool thing to hear about New Mexico. So we'll move on now to one of the last things. Sales in New Mexico. Sales in New Mexico have been really well the past year. Ever since April 1st, beginning of adult sales, sales have just been skyrocketing. We're breaking records every month, and just like I keep tabs with it, and I'm like, wow, we are breaking records every month. And it's not like huge every month. It'll be like 1 million more, 2 million more, but $1 million's a lot of dollars. Like that's a lot of money. And that's a lot of money that goes to the state. And when you think about it, well, a lot of this money goes to the state and it goes to other programs in the state that help us. We have free college now. That's cool. Maybe it'll help something like that. Or maybe one day go to something like that, because I think it's I think they have it as a lottery, like the lottery scholarship. It's something like that along the lines. Don't quote me. So anyway, New Mexico sold over $40 million in cannabis last month. So it was a really good month for us. I guess it was record breaking, according to the article that I read. And so we can probably keep up with those numbers. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we're just going to keep breaking it?
Yeah, I think so. I think as more people are getting to experience it and we're able to tie it in, like you said, it's not just about getting baked and, doing that. Of course, there's a time and a place if that's your cup. But
yeah, definitely.
A lot of people are learning how do I tie this into my mental health? How do I tie this into my physical therapy? How do I tie this into my everyday, physical fitness journey? I think there's a lot more people that are taking that approach to it, and they're feeling better. And when that happens, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, definitely.
So that that keeps the doors rolling.
And one thing I want to mention, guys, is $28 million of that $40 million was recreational sales, which is taxable to the state, because medical isn't taxed in the state. So they tell you the numbers about it, they just don't really count it. It's counted total, but the only one that really counts is the taxable income for the state. So 28 million, which is quite a bit. And we've been on around the same numbers since April of last year, and that adds up, and that's going to be a lot of taxable income for the state, because so far it's 2 million since April of last year. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and that's crazy to even think about. And medical was reckoned about 144 of that. So it kind of just took a big chunk of it. But there's still a lot of money that is taxable that we're really going to be seeing here in a little bit. So one thing that I want to talk about is historically, states kind of slow down after about the first year or two when it comes to sales. Like we spoke earlier. The excitement kind of goes down a little bit. Do you kind of feel that will happen here eventually, and then maybe the 28 million?
I'm going to be optimistic and say no.
Okay. Yeah, I hope so too.
I mean, just in terms of looking at how people are responding and kind of still recovering after the trauma of, the year we won't mention. I think a lot of people are really starting to take their health into their own hands. And I think that being as beneficial of a plant as cannabis is, I think we can only go up. Yeah, no, definitely. And I hope we do, and, New Mexico being kind of put on almost a pedestal on a national level, will help us. Texas, God hope they don't legalize in the next couple of years, because they're giving us a lot of money. Sorry guys, sorry Texas. I know you do deserve the legal cannabis, but you're helping us out here with a lot of money. So thanks, you've been a pain in our ass for so many years, but at least you're giving us money now. I love you, my Texas friends.
Texas is great. We love you guys, especially El Paso. They're more closer to us. Especially that's our sister city. We love El Paso. Especially when that massacre happened. Sadly, like it kind of brought us together a little closer. We bump heads. We'll talk crap about each other just like anyone else. If we say something about the Cowboys,
does that,
yeah, exactly. So that's how we do it. So. Shout out to Texas and everybody over there. I see you guys over here all the time. So, I see the Texas plates at the dispensaries all the time. So I'm going to finish off, guys, with a bonus kind of historical fact, is that most states ran out of cannabis in the first week, opening up of adult use, but we didn't here in New Mexico. And I actually predicted that we would, and I was 100% wrong, because we didn't run out at all. And that's actually a prediction I was happy I was wrong on. Absolutely. Because we would have looked like a joke, and what is one thing you maybe think that helped us with that? you know?
I think we had a lot of growers that
Mm-hmm.
have been at their practice for a long time when they weren't able to. And I think that they really embraced this opportunity and, took the reins and just ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that they prepared very well. Like I said, this is a wonderful opportunity for cannabis professionals to help destigmatize stoner culture.
Yeah.
They're successful, articulate, very intelligent, very well prepared individuals. So that makes me really happy that you were wrong.
I'll happily admit I was wrong on that. I'm happy I am. It made us look a lot better. And I think that's one reason why people are looking at us now. And they're just like, yeah, New Mexico did it right. So, so that's the last tidbit of that bonus there, guys. And that's actually our show for this week. And I appreciate everybody for, showing up and watching. And, if you're watching or listening later, thank you. This is the first episode of Ask Chad, Grassy Logic. You can find us anywhere where podcasts are. We're going to be on YouTube, Facebook, pretty much any socials. You'll hit up my socials. I'll make sure to have those in the links or somewhere here where you guys can find it. So with that being said, one thing I did forget, guys, I totally forgot this. If anybody would like to be on the podcast, please contact me or Tyler Overberger from Adams Radio Group. That way we can get you guys here on the show and we can come here and talk and have another conversation because I plan on having several different episodes on several different topics. And Ashley, thank you again for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You guys make sure that you find Gringo, New Mexico on your Facebook, Instagram. Call us, come see us. We're happy to answer any questions.
Nice. And what's the address?
We are at 2000 East Loman, Suite E. Look across the street from Chick-fil-A, and we share a parking lot with Bright Star Dental.
And last one, what are you guys' hours?
We are open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. Sundays we're open, but we're open from 11 to 6.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being here again.
Yeah,
and it was great speaking with you. Maybe bring a different perspective in the industry, and that's really great to hear here because you hear most people, I'm the grower, I'm the bud tender,
right.
So someone like you is really great. So with that being said, go ahead and take us out. Go ahead and get the outro going.
Do I sing a song? We didn't practice this part.
Just say, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Looking forward to meeting with you again, and we'll see you next time.